I am recording.
Okay, do you want to count us in?
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
I was after you. I was literally late.
Oh, okay, should we do it again?
I don't know. Okay, go. Okay.
3, 2, 1.
I feel like I was late again, but I'll figure it out. It's fine.
Okay, right.
It's because I have dyspraxia, so I actually can't use my body,
Right.
which makes life really hard sometimes.
Okay.
Okay, so this is going to be so cringy.
It is.
But it's okay. It's fine.
I mean, we were just saying like how this could be a sexist thing that we find it cringy. Like, is it sexism that we feel we can't share our opinions?
Yeah, or is it just that making a podcast and saying, "Hi, welcome to the first episode of the Hysterics podcast with Freya Hyatt and Lucy Pierce," is just fucking cringe? I don't know.
True. But I mean, we are being funded to do this, so we can always just put like the cringy blame on like the uni. It's not us, it's them.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, cringe aside, this is our first episode, and
It
we're
is.
basically just going to be talking to each other about, I guess, sexism would be the broadest term.
Misogyny.
Misogyny is a lovely one.
Yeah.
I think internalized misogyny is like cherry on top for me. Gets thrown around a lot these days, and I do love the drama of it.
I do too.
Do you know what's so funny as well? It's taken us quite a while to actually start recording this episode. We've been trying to do this for 3 weeks, but then things kept coming up and we just couldn't do it for ages. And it's almost like now Frenemies has ended, like officially confirmed over. It's like they had to die so that we could begin.
We're the new frenemies. Oh my god.
But we're not even frenemies, like.
Oh my god. Wait, what should we call ourselves then? Just friends.
Did you just friend zone me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we're friends, professional colleagues. Oh my god, imagine if someone was like, "Yeah, this is my co-host Lucy." You're like,
oh my god,
introducing me to somebody new, because it's like, yeah, this is my co-host. Like, you just want people to go, co-host? Wow, guys,
yeah.
What are you co-hosts of? You're so interesting. Oh my gosh, you're not like other girls.
That should be like a character that we both like portray in this. Like,
they're not like other girls, which
yeah,
arguably the whole concept of that I'm not like other girls kind of girl might as well be misogynistic.
Yeah, technically.
Everything's misogynistic.
The fact that like we live in a patriarchy, I think so many things just do have underlying sort of sexist tones just because we live in a patriarchy. That like everything's sort of touched the toxic patriarchy a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Everything is ruined by it a bit.
Yeah.
And that's like where the whole name for this podcast even came from. Like, hysteria is just a sexist word. Like, it is just ingrained. It is a word that refers to something that is just comes from patriarchy, comes from sexism, comes from misogyny, comes from an absolute disregard of women's medical health, and is just so focused on kind of like control.
Yeah.
And that whole time period of like women essentially being like maids, you know, when they were wives.
And also like that sort of undertone of hysteria that sort of the sexual nature of the cures, that like it was almost like a way of forcing sexuality onto women and not making sexuality something that's owned by someone, that it's like almost that the men controlled their sexuality,
Yeah,
rather than women controlling their own sexuality. That is just put shivers down my spine.
Yeah, and I think hysteria now, like, because you can use that word, and I feel like I've heard that word mostly describing young girls who like boy bands. Like, you'll hear that word to describe the crowd outside a One Direction concert, or like, you know, you would have 6 years ago, but that's, to me, is like the perfect description of like the way we use the word hysteria now.
Yeah. And also that like people use the term hysterical quite a lot to describe like laughing or a great enjoyment of something, which I find kind of weird. That it's sort of like the definitions moved from this sexist term to just mean like, oh, I'm in hysterics, like I'm laughing. Like,
Yeah.
that's weird
But it's almost
to
like
me.
a psychotic thing, isn't it? It's like it's crazy. Like you're crazy. You're laughing so hard that
Mm,
you're just so crazy.
yeah.
Like that's really where it came from, is like this idea of like women being mentally ill. Like that's literally what hysteria meant. Like any kind of
Yeah.
female thing that wasn't a physical problem was hysteria. So now we kind of get into this whole thing of like, oh well, you know, well these words don't really mean that anymore. It just means something's really funny and it's like kind of crazy and like, oh, I'm laughing so hard I can't breathe. I'm in absolute hysterics. But it is still kind of derogatory language
Mm,
because
definitely.
the word itself came from a Greek word for uterus, which was
Yeah.
hystera. So it is essentially like a direct female word, something that is inherently considered female or inherently considered woman, even though it might not necessarily be that way for everyone. Like that is just such a biological way to use that word, which is, when you actually really think about it, it's just as much as it's like clearly sexist, it's also just weird. Like it's just such a weird,
Yeah.
like they were finding this condition in women, like this bullshit condition in women or female people, and they were just
Mm.
like, oh, well, it's obviously just like a woman thing, you know. So uterus, I guess. They all got those. That must be what's causing it. Their uterus is making them all crazy. So we'll call it hysteria, because that's what the Greeks call the uterus. Like, so
It
bizarre.
I find it so weird that like they didn't just go, oh, maybe men and women just experience things differently and they portray their emotions differently. Like, why wouldn't you go down that route? Because to me that makes so much more sense. Because like you know that I think you mentioned like ages ago, you said something about the fact that there was that link to like the wandering uterus or something, that like people genuinely believed that your uterus could like move and go to a different part of your body.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not just assume that it was like stomach pain or something else or
Yeah.
just something logical? Not that your uterus could walk around your body. Like,
Literally.
it's so stupid.
It was like so before we start going off on this tangent, I will just say like this is going to be the focus of the episode, I think, just sort of discussing like hysteria and lobotomies and that kind of medical bias. But yeah, what you're talking about with the wandering uterus, I was reading about when we did our research session, when we
Mm.
planned the proposal, and it was like, I can't remember it now because I couldn't find the link again, but it was like the idea that like when women would complain of physical pain, in sort of like most of this hysteria lobotomy craze was kind of like late 18th or late 19th and early 20th century. So you're thinking like 1850s to 1960s sort of time, I think. But yeah, so this wandering uterus thing was basically like if a woman said, oh, my shoulder hurts, or my knee hurts, or my foot hurts, they'd be like, oh, it's wandering uterus. Like they'd literally
Yeah.
think that the uterus had like gone up and floated up to your shoulder and that's why it was hurting. Like that any time a woman has an issue, it's a woman thing, you know?
Yeah, it was so mad. But I've just found the thing that the thing I think you might have read. The Egyptians attributed the behavioral disturbances to a wandering uterus, thus later dubbing the condition hysteria. To treat hysteria, Egyptian doctors prescribed various medications. For example, doctors put strong-smelling substances on the patient's vulvas to encourage the uterus to return to its proper position. What?
So they just what? Like they put a bit of garlic up your
I
vag so that
think
your
so.
uterus would smell it and come back.
Yeah, I think so. Oh my God.
That
Oh
was,
wait,
to
and
be fair, I've got a link here. It's literally from the Hysteria Wikipedia page because who needs to read proper academic articles. But
I'm also looking at
that
that.
hysteria wandering uterus idea was actually way older than I said it was. That's like 1900 BC. So like that is old shit.
Yeah,
that is like
and then it
preceding Jesus Christ, you know. But at the same time,
like it's
it would not
Egyptian.
surprise me if that was still 1950, because they were still really stupid, and they still are.
And also, if you look at the bottom, another tactic was to smell or swallow unsavory herbs to encourage the uterus to flee back to the lower parts of the female's abdomen.
Leave out.
Flee. Like, do they think it had arms and legs? Did they really think that it was like genuinely like a living thing that was inside
Like,
of them?
I'm just imagining a little uterus, like, you know, the little fallopian tubes and the way they
Yeah.
hold on to the like egg sac things. I know
Yeah.
nothing about my own anatomy apparently, because I think that women have egg sacs, but I'm imagining those as little arms like swimming through.
Same. I've got like a little image of in my head of like those are the arms and it's got little like stick figure legs and a little smiley face. Like that that's what I'm picturing.
It also says here on Wikipedia, it says the oldest record of hysteria dates back to 1900 BC, when Egyptians recorded behavioural abnormalities in adult women on medical papyrus. And I'm just imagining them drawing like a little, you know, because it was like hieroglyphics and stuff.
Oh my
I'm just imagining like how they would draw that. Like, were they drawing a crazy little uterus or something?
Yeah, were they just drawing like a uterus with little angry eyebrows? The Egyptians' like explanation for hysteria was apparently like the inability to bear children or the failure to get married. What the fuck?
That's all we're good for.
What the fuck? That also brings me round to the fact that like if you scroll down it says like historical treatments, one of which is childbirth. How did they come to this conclusion?
It was just an excuse for the doctor to tell the husband, yeah, you just need to fuck her a bit more. And the husband's like, nice!
Yeah, it's another excuse for men to like walk home and be like, the prescription is sex.
That was a real thing though. I'll get to that in a bit, but that was a thing.
Oh my god.
So on Wikipedia as well, it says female hysteria was once a common medical diagnosis for women, which was described as exhibiting a wide array of symptoms. So already from that, we know it's just woman problems. You know when you've got your period and you're like, this happened a lot in school, I find, but like when you really needed to go to the toilet and you had a male teacher who wouldn't fucking let you go to the toilet.
Yeah.
And then you're like, but I'm having woman problems. And they're like, okay, make it quick.
Yeah.
You know? That's what hysteria is, just woman problems.
Like I don't think I ever actively had to say like women problems. I think I would just sort of look at the teacher in a certain way and sort of be like my eyes sort of said it all, or like I'd be like physically in pain or something. So I've never actively had to say it to a teacher, but I think I'm pretty sure there have been times when I've heard other students have to say it to a teacher.
Why are we bitching about school? Like, I'm literally 21 years old.
I turned 20 in like 5 days. Like, I'm bitching about school.
We should not be this upset about school. We never have to go back there.
I mean, I feel like it's just because we're so heavily traumatized.
I have school trauma. I have British school trauma. I have why are you wearing white socks trauma.
Yeah. Why is your shirt untucked trauma?
Oh my god, no. Do you want to get into some of the symptoms of hysteria with me right now?
Yes. Yes, I would. Before we do that, I have a point that I think I saw. I can't remember where I saw it. Probably TikTok. That's where I get most of my information these days. But apparently, hysteria, if it's like the symptoms of hysteria are more like if you were to put it onto a current mental health diagnosis, the symptoms, no, not all of them obviously, but like the ones that are actually slightly worrying are more linked to things like BPD or like a personality disorder.
Yeah.
Which both men and women can get, but BPD is also statistically more common in women.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing though, because I don't know if BPD is more common in women, but because I was reading something about BPD the other day as well, is that it seems to me as though women commonly get misdiagnosed with BPD when actually they have ADHD or autism, or even on a much further end of that scale, psychopathy.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
definitely.
people, all of the research into, like, there's a podcast I was listening to, I can't remember the name of it. The editing voice of God comes to tell you that the podcast episode was Tenfold More Wicked Presents Wicked Words, with Dr. Catherine Ramsland and Kate Winklet Dawson discussing the BTK killer. And she was talking about Dennis Rader, who's a really famous serial killer. And she was talking about how there's almost no research into female psychopaths, because when this research began, men who were researching into it, because obviously it was the medical field, so it was all men, they kind of couldn't bear the thought that women could be like that. You know, mothers and children and wives and sisters and protective, nurturing individuals could actually be psychopaths like all these horrible men. So they kind of just let it slide. Like, well, women couldn't, women couldn't be like that. It's not a woman thing. Women are nurturing, women are good. But it was actually almost like a fear thing, really.
And also, like, most medical books and journals and things that are taught in medical school are written by and for the white man.
100%. And that also disproportionately affects black women who are, I believe, I think I saw on Twitter a statistic about black women being statistically the most likely to die in childbirth in America.
That's terrifying.
But obviously I don't know. I can't back that up with facts because I don't have the facts here and now. But I've seen that quite often on Twitter. You know, women get treated like being annoying if we complain of pain, and nobody really wants to listen to us or give us a diagnosis because they just think we're all being dramatic. But black women have that like times 10, because people statistically like underestimate black people's ability like to feel pain. Like, I know that those are statistics as well, and that obviously disproportionately affects women. So it kind of like it just never ends. Like, the misogyny is absolutely rife, and then you get to the fact that white men still, even when you feel so devalued as a white woman in medical settings, the white men are still looking at you in a much more appreciative and kind way than they would a black woman or any other woman of colour. And I think it's fucked up.
It's the same with heart attacks in black women as well, that apparently, like, generally in women, like, it's ignored that, like, women will come in with, because heart attack symptoms for men and women are drastically different.
Oh yeah, can't you just have like a tummy ache?
Yeah, and that your symptoms are so different to the typical like left arm hurting and stuff.
Yeah, like I've heard of women having heart attacks and mistaking it as just period cramps.
Yeah,
which is so scary.
A big thing. But like, it's particularly bad with women of color, because they have that ignored for women, but then also like they have that thing on top of like that racism, that like they're just being ignored and not listened to, and that pain isn't real and stuff, that they have that like double whammy of like they're a woman that like the book isn't written for them, but they're also being told that it's not real and it's all in their head, and it's like, what the fuck? That is just so fucked up.
Yeah. That's what you find with like people who have like endometriosis.
And like, as someone who I'm also currently trying to get a diagnosis of endometriosis.
Yeah.
Like, doing the research is terrifying, because like apparently it takes 20 like an average of 25 GPs in 10 years is normal for an endometriosis diagnosis, which is terrifying, because in 10 to 15 years I could be infertile. Like, that is just terrifying to me, that I started experiencing like traumatically painful period pains to the point that like my mum considered calling the ambulance numerous times. Like, since I was about 15, maybe 14. And I went to the doctors about it, and I get just prescribed like extra strong painkillers and told, oh, it's just bad period pains. That's all it is. It's bad period pains. I'm like, but what's causing them? Like, somebody tell me what's causing them and help me. Don't just tell me, oh, you just need painkillers because you just got abnormally bad periods. Like, no,
Yeah.
do the fucking investigation. Listen to me and my fact my pain is real, and shortcut that 10 years and 25 GPs for me. What?
Yeah, it's the same for me
Mad.
because, like, well, it's not the same thing 'cause I don't really have particularly bad period pains, but I don't like to take painkillers generally because I find
Mm.
that I don't know, it's like an anxiety thing, I think. I don't like taking painkillers because I worry that if I numb pain too much, I'm going to miss signals from my body. I get it with
That's
headaches as well. Like,
understandable.
I don't like, I'm like, what? If my body's in pain, it's because my body's trying to tell me something. Like, there's a reason I'm in pain, so I need to feel the pain in case it gets worse or in case it gets better. I can't just numb it, which is stupid and it's just anxiety, but that's how I am.
It is understandable that, like, it does make sense that that's what pain is for in your body,
Yeah.
but painkillers do definitely help me. I
Yeah,
know that
I
for
mean, I'm not
for
saying that you
sure.
should stop taking painkillers.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
for
of
me,
course.
I have bad period pains, but not so bad. But I just kind of feel them and get through it because they're obviously not as bad as yours. But with like, because I'm pretty sure I have PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder.
Mm.
Because every single time my period comes, I am so depressed that all I can think about is like how worthless life is, all like for a straight week.
Mm.
There's
Yeah.
nothing I want to do. I'm having absolutely no fun being alive. Like, I could have a panic attack on the spot. Like, I have like really bad issues with it, and like sometimes it can become like thoughts of suicide or self-harm and stuff like that, just purely because my period is coming. And then I get my period and I'm like, okay, it's fine now, because it starts the cycle again. And it's just one of those really bizarre things because it's so hard. It's been very hard for me to get diagnosed with that, because when I go to the doctor and I say, oh, I have really bad premenstrual symptoms, they'll just be like, oh, you have really bad PMS. Yeah, oh, your period's painful, your period's heavy. Here you go. Here's the pill. And I don't fucking want to go on the pill.
Yeah,
I don't want
definitely.
to be
Like,
on the pill. I've been on the pill before. It was horrible.
on the other end of that, like, I went on the pill for a little bit in my life. I think a space of must have been only about 6 months, and being on the pill was causing me such extreme levels of depression and like suicidal thoughts and everything, like the whole shebang, that I actually went to the doctors. I was like, this is fucking me off. Like, this is breaking my brain. I need to go off
Yeah.
it. And they were just like, oh, okay, that's just depression. Here's a card for some therapy and that you can sort out yourself. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm coming here telling you that I basically want to kill myself because of this medication. And you're just like, oh, it's just, you're fine. Just go off the
Yeah.
pill.
Like,
What?
they're so desperate to just get us all on the pill so that they don't have to deal with unwanted pregnancies. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, we are fertile a few days of every month until we're about 50. Men are fertile all the fucking time, forever. So
Mm.
why are we on the pill?
Yeah. Like,
Tell
and
me.
also,
Tell me
and also,
why. It
like,
makes no sense. It's another system of control. It's like they put it on us. They gave it to us like some kind of almighty savior. If you guys can take control of your contraceptives, like, woo, girl power, feminism. It's not really feminism though, is it? Because we have to do all this shit and we have to take all the responsibility, and men just
mm.
get to come in us and come all over us and fucking come in our faces and come everywhere and not
Yeah.
worry, and we have to be worried all the time. And if you end up getting
Yeah.
pregnant because you missed a pill or whatever, it's all your fucking fault. And it's like, no.
Yeah, and also, like, one thing I find so annoying about the pill is that the reason that there's not more research done into finding a better method for us than the pill or things like that is because the symptoms of the pill are seen as less bad or less of a risk than pregnancy and the symptoms of pregnancy, because that's how a lot of medications work with other like illnesses
Yeah.
is that like the medication's risks are less risky than the illness, so they give the medication. And that's why there's not more research done into the pill, because doctors are like, oh well, the risks are less than like the risks of pregnancy. Like it, like same with like
Yeah.
you get blood clots on the pill, but you're more likely to get a blood clot during pregnancy. So it's like, okay, so we'll just give you the pill because it's less risky.
Yeah, but
But that's so stupid.
that's the issue. It's like they're treating pregnancy as though it's any other illness.
Yeah.
Pregnancy is its own fucking thing. Like pregnancy,
Exactly.
I can understand, like it, I recently did like workplace training, and one of the things that it pointed out was that pregnancy by law is treated like a disability. Like you have to treat people like it's considered like a factor for like discrimination, so it's kind of treated like it's in that category of like disabilities and stuff like that, which makes sense, and that is good, because if something affects pregnant women or pregnant people, like you have to kind of take that into consideration. But treating it the same as any other disability or illness is not like
Yeah.
Pregnancy is a very different thing. Like
Exactly.
it's a very different thing. Like you're being a giver of life. Like you're being, like it's not just the same as like if you were being medicated for any other illness. Like it's not
Yeah,
the same
like
thing.
it's a biological thing that we all have to go through as people with uteruses. That like it's not just like a broken leg or like internal bleeding or something. It's like it is a biological thing that just has to happen to us.
Yeah.
Like periods like have to happen to us, and like pregnancy is something that like our body is designed for. And we don't have to obviously get pregnant, but like biologically we're designed for it.
Yeah.
Like so it shouldn't be treated like an illness. It should be treated like a biological process.
Yeah. And it's one of those things again of like it's men's fault that it happens to us. Like it's on them, but you are the one that has to deal with it.
You have to deal with the consequences.
I'm the one that would have to deal with it, really.
Yeah.
All they have to do is be a pillar of support for you.
Well,
Be
no,
that kind of financially, emotionally, romantically, whatever, while you're pregnant. All they have to do is be a pillar of support and like, I don't know, give you a foot rub.
They have to nut in you and then be a pillar of support.
Yeah. It's just like, oh my god.
Like the best analogy that I've seen of it is like the ammo should be taken out of the gun, not put a bulletproof vest on women.
Yeah, that is a really good. I think that's a really good way of putting it, because it's like, why is that my responsibility? Again, it's because if the pill was for men, they probably wouldn't be on it, because again, they don't actually have to deal with pregnancy, really. Men can, it actually does happen that men get women pregnant and then they run away and never deal with what they've done. Women have to deal with it in the immediate, whether you have to deal with going to have an abortion, and the repercussions of that on you emotionally and physically, or if you have to deal with, bringing a baby into the world.
And the one argument that I've seen a man sort of put forward to me about why they'd be sort of slightly questioning of the pill if there was a male contraceptive pill available, is that they would be like, oh, but what about my like the side effects? Like, I don't know whether I trust the side effects. Yeah. And then I sort of put forward to them, I was like, you are aware the extensive list of side effects there is for the female contraceptive pill. And it's like, you can get depression, blood clots, temporary blindness. Like, there are some weird ones on that list. And it's like,
it's bizarre.
Okay, I understand your worry there. That's a perfectly fair worry. However, you have to acknowledge the fact that there's just the same amount, if not more, side effects for the female contraceptive pill that are ignored.
Yeah.
Continuously.
And it's just, it's like, But I understand like the logic of saying it makes sense for women to have that barrier up because pregnancy happens to women physically. So it makes sense that women are medicated because we are the pregnant ones, or, you know, people with uteruses, you know,
Mm.
anyone that can have a baby, basically. We take the pill because we have to deal with the pregnancy. That would make sense, right? Logically.
Mm.
However, it doesn't really, because it's like you said, the ammo, the gun, the bullet-proof vest. But,
Yeah.
like, it shouldn't be that way. It would be a lot easier if it was men, because they're the ones that cause the fucking pregnancies, not the ones that deal with it. But they don't respect us enough to just do that, to just take that L and go on the pill, you know?
Well, it's not just that. It's more that like that it's not seen as a risk for men, so it's not being developed as a drug. That
Mm.
like it's seen as a risk for women to get pregnant because it's
Yeah.
it's a risky thing to get pregnant, whereas
And
it's not
it's
seen as a risk for men to nut. So it's like
exactly.
the pill for men or contraceptive methods for men that are easier and better aren't being developed, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
There is that there needs to be a revamp of medical reasons for medications to be made or researched
Yeah.
so we can get better contraceptives. And also the fact that like poorer countries need better contraceptives that are
Yeah.
easier to take that would stop, you know, unwanted children and like women falling ill because of pregnancy and things like that. And like there needs to be better contraception for men available that could be given to poorer parts of the world and
Yeah.
more privileged parts of the world because like we all have that problem of
But
like unwanted
still,
children.
that is still the issue. The issue is giving it to men because they won't use it because it feels much nicer without a condom actually, and then they don't have to
Mm.
deal with the fact that she might get pregnant. That's what it comes down to. It's almost like there's no
Yeah,
way out, you know? Like, we shouldn't be on the pill.
yeah.
Men should be on the pill. Okay, we've made a male pill. All the men can go on the pill. They won't fucking take it. They don't respect us enough.
Well, yeah, I think it's not necessarily respect. I think for some men it's definitely that they don't respect us, but I think for
Yeah.
some men it's like they worry about their health or like they're like, "Oh, I don't feel safe on this pill" or whatever. It's like, "Okay, well, I don't feel safe on the pill. Like I if I take the pill, I give myself depression. Like excuse me, I am giving myself depression so you can nut in me. Shut up and take it."
When I was on it, I was angry all the time. I was really angry and really anxious, and just I could have, if I'd stayed on that pill much longer, I either would have killed somebody else or killed myself. Truly, I
Mm,
wanted to.
same.
I wanted to get so violent at people. It was crazy. I don't know. Maybe it was like a serial killer moment in the making. Good
I
thing I
mean,
came off it, or I might be a serial killer now.
apparently the pill is meant to. I might be wrong here, obviously, but it's meant to mimic symptoms of pregnancy. So, like, you're essentially being like people who take the pill for like 30 years, they're essentially being pregnant for 30 years
That's
of their
so
life.
funny. Because what if one day when I actually do get pregnant, I might feel really bad for my boyfriend. I'm gonna be just throwing shit at him all the time.
I'm gonna be a mess because, like, the pill gave me depression and like made me a horrible human. So, oh God, I feel bad for both our future spouses.
Oh no. I can be your surrogate if you want a really angry baby.
Yeah, and you just pop out
Anyway,
really angry children.
we went on like literally a 30-minute tangent, which I love,
We
by the
did.
way. That's what it's
I
all
love as
about.
well. It
Just
is.
women going on tangents. That's what we want in this world.
And being listened to as well.
Yeah. There's no men here to interrupt us. Even if only like
Yeah.
3 people listens to this episode, I don't really give a shit because no men interrupted this conversation at all.
There's also no men to like like throw random like derailers into the
Yeah.
conversation and
And
change
make
the
it about
subject.
Star Wars or something.
Yeah.
Or Pokemon Go. Would you like to find out whether or not you have hysteria?
uh, sure. Is that like a test? Or
No, it's just a list of symptoms. So I thought we could just have a little discussion of each one because some of
yes,
them are really funny.
let's do that.
The first symptom listed here is anxiety.
Yes,
Yeah,
I have a diagnosed generalized anxiety and panic
that's exactly
disorder.
what
So
I have
yeah,
as well. So I think maybe we both have hysteria.
yeah. That's it. I don't think we need to go any further. We both have hysteria and anxiety diagnoses are wrong, and we just have hysteria.
Yep, they need to cut my uterus out and give me a lobotomy. Shortness of breath, which let me just point out for this whole podcast, I've had shortness of breath because I'm sitting in a chair instead of laying in my bed, which is not it, honestly, because my chair's really not comfortable.
I get shortness of breath like all the time anyway because of like a medical issue. So maybe that my doctors are wrong. It's not what they think it is. It's hysteria.
Someone was talking about it on TikTok the other day. I have like a phantom breathing problem where I'll breathe in a really big breath, but it's like my lungs just won't fill up.
That is bizarre.
I mean, you're not a doctor, so I don't know why I'm telling you this. But apparently it's a phantom thing. I don't have a lung problem or a breathing problem. It's just something that people think that they have and it's not real. So it sounds like I'm kind of being gaslit by medical
Yeah,
people, but okay.
that just sounds like men don't want to listen to you or diagnose you.
Yeah, that's misogyny, honestly.
Yep.
Everything's misogyny. If I don't like it,
Yep.
it's misogyny.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we should start doing that. We should call everything misogynistic, no matter whether it is or isn't.
Yeah, everything's misogynistic.
Yeah.
Okay, the third symptom is fainting. Have you ever fainted?
I do on a regular basis. I have postural orthostatic tachycardia.
Okay, I don't know what word you just said, but you have hysteria actually.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever fainted. I came close once when I had a blood test.
I mean, it literally just like if your eyes just suddenly go black and like you just it's like someone's closed the curtains on your eyes and you just sort of fall to the floor. It's very weird. It's very weird.
Yeah, I was laying down when I had my blood test. I'm pretty sure if I'd been stood up, it wouldn't have been so pretty. Um, yeah. The next symptom is sexual desire.
Um,
Have you ever had sex?
yes.
You have hysteria.
Does that does that mean like being horny?
Well, sexual desire, the definition pops up and it says, sexual desire is a motivational state and an interest in sexual objects or activities, or as a wish or drive to seek out sexual objects or to engage in sexual activities.
Right. So just being a human, just being a human being wanting to breed.
Have you ever looked at your partner and gone, I feel as though I would like to have sex with you right now?
Yes, I must have hysteria then.
You've got hysteria. I've
Oh
got
my
hysteria
god.
for shoresies.
Oh my god.
Yeah, hysteria, isn't it? Women aren't allowed to want to have sex. This is one of those
Yeah.
examples of like women having sexual desire means that they're crazy because men only like sex if it's rape.
Yeah, men only like sex if they want it.
That's all I'm seeing here. I know that's a broad statement, but I'm not saying that all
Well, no, but
men only want to rape us because like I have a boyfriend who actually doesn't rape me, but like that's an example of like men wanting control. And when women show that they want, or you know, in the past at least, because you know we don't really use terms like hysteria anymore in a medical context, but like that's an example of ways in which men have just wanted control over women. So when women say, yeah, actually, I really want to have sex, I'm really feeling sexual desire for you right now, they stop liking it because they still want their women to be virginal even when they're having sex with her.
but that whole thing was probably made 10 times worse by things like porn.
Mm-hmm.
The like the idea that men want sex from women when either women don't want it or when women are being like submissive and not showing that they
Mm-hmm.
like it, and it's like, okay, I understand the
Yeah.
dom sob thing a little bit, but like porn takes it to the next level and makes it wrong.
So it would be like, oh,
Yeah.
going on my stepsister while she's asleep or whatever. And like, it's just not right. This is literally making rape look sexy. This is literally making lack of consent sexy. It's just wrong.
And it's also an industry that is so directed towards the desires of men, and often
100%.
men with like sort of fucked up, skewed views of sex.
Yeah.
That like, there's some men obviously out there that don't have those views and don't want to rape. Obviously, like we both have boyfriends. Like,
Yeah.
but there's a whole massive group of men that either subconsciously or consciously like that, and it's fucked up.
I'm definitely forgiving of the kind of subconscious nature of it, because when I think our generation have this worse than any others, to be honest. I think we've got this specific thing I'm about to talk about worse than millennials, and that's unauthorized access to the internet. Like,
Oh yeah, definitely.
watching porn from a really young age. Like, I had a friend show me porn for the first time when we were literally like 10 years old, and like
Mm.
that immediately ruins it. Like, it completely skews your view of sex. And I think the way that affects young men is really, really dangerous. And I used to really
Yeah.
be quite flippant about it, but then I remember like Ted Bundy, who was a serial killer. For anyone who may or may not bother to listen to this, this is actually so much more fun when you pretend you have an audience of millions. That's what makes
Yeah.
it interesting. But yeah,
Yeah, I
Ted
agree.
Bundy, Ted Bundy, the serial killer. He essentially said that the reason he had such a fixation with like killing women and sexualizing them and stuff like that was because of porn. Like, he blamed porn.
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of pushed as kind of like a Christian angle of like porn is the devil, but like that is probably true. Let's be honest. A lot of male
Yeah.
serial killers, like Dennis Rader, who I mentioned earlier, like he liked to kill people because it was erotic for him. He didn't like have sex with any of the people he killed, but it was an erotic feeling to have that power and
Yeah.
control over them. And that is such an ingrained thing, and like pornography makes that so much worse because it's all about men having power and control. That's why, like, you know, just the idea of a facial coming on a woman's face, that is so fucking degrading.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's almost as if men can't help wanting to do that to you because it's what
Yeah,
they've seen as sexy since they were children, seeing
it's so
pornography when they were way too
normalized.
young.
Like it's so normalized for like 12-year-old boys to watch porn
Yeah.
and be open about it,
How?
and the fact that like that skews their view of sex. And then it's also so normalized for all these weird parts of porn, like you say, like coming on someone's face, or like I can't think of any other examples, but like, you know, my point that like
Yeah.
there's so many weird parts of sex, not weird, but like unusual avenues of sex that are normalized and seen as the norm and what's expected of women. And it's like, I don't want to do some of those things.
Yeah. Well, honestly, in my opinion, cum is fucking disgusting. Like, I hate it. It's so disgusting. I don't want it near me. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to see it. It's gross. And I feel like the first time I was with a boy and he came, it was like a culture shock. I was like, this is so gross. Like, I didn't think it would be this fucking bad because I'd seen cum in porn. I'd seen people have cum on their face in porn. I'd seen people swallow cum in porn. And then the first time a boy came, I was like, oh, that is fucking disgusting. Like, why does it smell so bad? And I know, like, I don't know, people will probably be like, cum actually isn't supposed to smell bad. You're just dating guys with really bad diets. But, like, so, it's gross.
But I think what's gross about it is not necessarily the cum itself. I think it's more that like it's normalized that it'll go in people's faces, in people's mouths and stuff like that. Like that's just why.
It's okay that it is a bit gross because it's only supposed to go inside my vagina where I won't have to even worry about it. But the fact that it ends up on my face or my boobs or anywhere else, and then I have to like deal with it there, that's what's gross, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because it's not necessarily the actual substance. It's like it's why do you want to put it in my mouth? Like no.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the symptom list, the next symptom was nervousness.
Isn't that just like essentially linked to anxiety though?
Well, no, I feel like anxiety is like panic attacks and nervousness is
Oh,
just
okay, yeah.
being a bit nervous, you know? So have you ever been nervous?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, so I guess you have hysteria then.
There, yeah, definitely.
The next one is insomnia.
I feel like most people throughout their life experience either like temporary insomnia.
Yeah. Some kind of
Like,
sleeplessness is basically
yeah,
what the definition is.
yeah. Oh my
So if you've
God.
ever struggled getting to sleep, you've got hysteria.
Yeah,
But if men struggle to get to sleep, they have insomnia.
yeah. That's how the world works.
The next one's really weird, but it's fluid retention.
What does it even mean by that?
Fluid retention is basically like swelling. So it's kind of like you get a bit
Right.
swollen and like squishy. I can't explain what I mean.
I kind of get what you mean.
Your
But
body
like,
is essentially retaining too much water, so you kind of swell up. Old people get it, I think. Normally,
yeah.
like older people can get it, and their like legs swell.
I swear that that should be like looked into more as like not hysteria though. Like if I was obviously like a male doctor back in that time period.
If you were a male doctor in 1942 or whenever,
Yeah, and I saw like that as a symptom, I wouldn't link it to hysteria.
I mean, you would though, because you don't care about women's health if you're a doctor in the early 20th century.
True, that is very true.
Where did that come from? Like, some guy could not be bothered to help a woman, so he just put it down as hysteria. The wandering
Yeah.
uterus was actually causing the retention.
Oh my God.
The next one was heaviness in the abdomen, and that doesn't have a definition. Just like heaviness in the abdomen. Like, what does
Does
that
that
mean?
does that mean like a stomach ache?
I don't know. Heaviness. I don't get what that even is referring to. Like, are they
I don't
talking about
either.
like a little like fat pouch that you might have there, like a chubby belly? Like, what is that heaviness, or is the heaviness just like pain
Uh,
or
that is
pressure?
that's such a weird like wording. Like
I know.
what? Like, 'cause like I know that the like you know how you have like naturally a bit of like natural padding in front of your uterus and your stomach.
Yeah,
That's what my mind sort of slightly went to.
yeah. But then to me, that TikTok trend makes me laugh so much because I see so many women being like, "It's okay that you have this little pouch covering your uterus. It doesn't mean you're fat." And then I'm there like, "Okay, but I have the biggest pouch you've ever seen covering my uterus, and I actually might be a bit fat. But thanks for the update." And it makes me laugh so much. It's like so many women have to reassure themselves that they're not fat all the time, and it's just like, you know what, if you were fat though, it would be okay. Like, it's so
Yeah.
funny.
I feel like when like that sort of pouch of protection of the uterus is talked about, I feel like it should be spoken about in like a different way that's not sort of fat phobic.
Yeah,
Like I feel like it should be spoken about in a way that's just like you just have natural padding there and
yeah,
everyone does. But it's not fat. Like it's not like they shouldn't call it fat. They should
no,
just call it like padding because that's technically what it is. It's like a protective layer
yeah,
of whatever that like I feel like it just shouldn't be spoken about in a fat
yeah.
phobic
And do you know
way.
what, you do have a layer of fat there, and that's fine. Like, I have many layers of fat there, and that's also fine. Like, it's so funny. It's like,
Yeah,
because I can't have a thing of being like, "Oh my god, I hate people like that. They're so annoying. They hate fat people. What? Or why are they so fat phobic?" Because fat phobia is another thing that's so ingrained in young women. Like, just can't be avoided. Because like, you'll see the way that women talk about themselves and the way that like young people talk about themselves as being fat is just so bizarre, and it's so horrible because it's just like, it's like we just have bodies, like, and that's
yeah. That it
okay.
just should be your body. It should be like your body, your vessel. Like it shouldn't be mine's better, yours is worse, or anything. Like it should literally just be your body that you just live in.
Just new, yeah, like no body positivity, no I'm beautiful and fat, just Or I'm beautiful and I'm thin, or I'm beautiful and I have an hourglass figure, or I'm beautiful and I don't have an hourglass figure, or I'm beautiful and I have this problem or this thing. It's like, how about we all just have bodies and only worry about them when we have a physical ailment that needs medical attention?
Exactly.
I wish it could just be like that, but it's so like ingrained. Oh, especially with like the fashion industry and stuff.
Yeah, oh my God. That's a whole other topic for another podcast.
Yeah, I feel like we've covered like 8 topics. Next hysteria symptom is...
Yes.
So we covered heaviness in the abdomen, which we've decided is just fat phobia. And then we've got irritability.
I feel like irritability really depends on the other person that's being irritating. Like, I don't think irritability is like...
That's the thing. Like, some guy wheeled his wife up to an asylum and said, she's got hysteria because she's getting pissed off at me. But in fact, he was just being really annoying.
Yeah, like, have you considered that maybe I'm being irritable because you're being irritating?
Yeah.
Like, have you considered that? Like, I think so many people are so quick to label a woman being irritable with like her period or pregnancy or something like that, and they fail to think that like maybe she's just having a bad day and is struggling to regulate her reactions to something that you are doing. You're still doing something there that is obviously being irritating or pissing her off. So maybe reflect on that before you start calling her irritating, or not irritating, irritable, and acknowledge that you may actually still be doing something. That she's not just irritable for no fucking reason.
Yeah. The women get the blame for everything, don't they? That's the thing.
They really
just
do.
Get blamed for fucking everything. Men can be so annoying and it's just still your fault for being annoyed.
Yep.
The next one is absolutely hilarious to me because it's a loss of appetite for food or sex.
Or sex?
Yeah.
Why are food and sex put in the same category?
I don't know. Loss of appetite for food or sex. So if you don't want to eat, then you've got hysteria. If you don't want to have sex, you've got hysteria. But also, sexual desire means you have hysteria.
That's weird.
And then the next symptom after that on the list is sexually forward behaviour. So it seems like they just want to punish women for doing anything except have submissive sexual relations with men.
Yes. So if you want sex, you have hysteria. And if you don't want sex, you have hysteria. And if you're forward about wanting sex, you have hysteria. But if you're also not forward about wanting sex, you have hysteria. So just women just breathing.
Yeah. All they want you to do is lay there, stick your bum in the air, and whimper like a little dog. Like, that's what they really want, isn't it?
Sorry. That is perfect.
Like, that's the cure to hysteria.
Just doggy style.
Literally. And the last symptom is so funny as well because it's in quotation marks and it just says a tendency to cause trouble for others. Are you a little troublemaker? Are you a naughty little girl? Well, you've got hysteria.
Oh my god.
So
that's
funny.
Amazing. So if you misbehave.
Like, who? I want to find the source for that. The source for that was a 1999 article, I think, called The Technology of Orgasm, Hysteria, the Vibrator, and Women's Sexual Satisfaction. So, it's by a woman as well. I mean, I'm guessing because it says Rachel Maines is the name of the person. So, I trust that source because a woman wrote it.
Also, I've got another list here of other symptoms of hysteria, historical symptoms.
Oh, let's go through.
You've already done shortness of breath, anxiety, insomnia, fainting, but there's apparently a lot more. There's amnesia, paralysis, pain, just pain, spasms, convulsive fits, vomiting, deafness, bizarre movements. What the fuck's that?
What does that mean?
Seizures, hallucinations, inability to speak, and infertility. What?
I think bizarre movements is my favourite. Like find me in a nightclub, I've got hysteria.
Yeah, I'm just really shit at dancing.
We once went to like a 2000s club night thing. I mean, it wasn't. We went to Bacca's and it happened to be like 2000s night.
Right.
And I was so fucking excited to be drunk and listening to Paramore.
Yeah.
And I definitely had some bizarre movements that night, so I think Backers gave me hysteria.
I think any time I've been inside a club, I have done some bizarre movements to indicate hysteria.
Oh my god.
Just like enter the building and it's hysteria just all comes out. But my other one that's my favorite is just pain, just simple pain. I could
Any kind of
complain of
pain.
like foot cramp, and they're like, you know what you got? Hysteria.
There's something interesting to me about spasms and convulsions too, because it's like, well, do you not think she might have, I don't know, epilepsy or something?
Yeah. Or she's prone to seizures.
Imagine you're just like out and about, or you're at work, or you're at school or uni or whatever, and a woman drops to the floor and starts having convulsions or spasms, and a doctor runs over and just goes, okay, it's hysteria. They're just standing over this woman having spasms, like, quick, get me the vibrator.
Oh my god. Just intensively starts like trying to give her an orgasm like on the floor.
Because that is the next thing, is like the cures that they had to hysteria.
Oh my god, yeah, I've got a list here as well.
It was categorised as a disease, but hysteria's symptoms were synonymous with normal functioning female sexuality.
Oh my god.
It is quite funny to think that because women didn't match up to the same day-to-day attitude as men, that they just thought we were all ill.
Yeah, it's almost like men have tried so hard to understand women and got it so wrong throughout history that like that they couldn't just fathom the idea that we just run on a different cycle, that we're just different biologically. It's mad.
Yeah. And coming back to when we were talking about it, ancient Egypt and ancient Greece,
Yes.
there's something here. It says that in ancient Greece, hysteria was referred to as the widow's disease because the female semen was believed to turn venomous if not released through regular climax or intercourse.
The female semen.
So if she didn't have a husband, she there's no way that she could have regular climaxes on her own. Men have to do that to us. And it would turn venomous and make you ill.
But what do they mean by female semen? Are they talking about like when you get wet?
I think so.
Is that what they mean by female semen?
That what they're talking about is that nice pussy juice.
A wet ass pussy.
Careful, she has a WAP. It's gonna be venomous.
Oh my god.
It says the retention of menstrual blood in the womb was a key problem as well. So what they referred to as like the female semen was female seed. So I think that is just the WAP.
Wait, so does that mean that if we, like, obviously when you go through menopause, like, you stop having periods, does that mean that when women went through menopause, they believed it to be another symptom?
I don't know. Maybe that's why it was called the widow's disease. Because when you've stopped having periods, you've got your menstrual blood retained within you.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Also, in the list of, like, historical treatments I've got here, the top one is regular marital sex. The fact that they specified that it has to be marital, that you can't have unmarital or whatever it's called. You can't have.
Yeah, because if you're a slut, then that's also a symptom of hysteria.
So you only have to have sex with your husband.
So if an unmarried woman has hysteria, she's fucked then, isn't she? She's never going to get a cure. You've got to get married and have sex to cure it. There's no way out.
The other cures are pregnancy, childbirth, orgasms, or rest. I love how extreme it goes from, like, pregnancy, literally, like, pregnancy and childbirth, to just rest. Like, it's either pushing a baby out or lying down in a bed. Like, make up your minds. Make it make sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I personally think that women should just get to go to sleep when they're on the period.
Yeah. I second that.
But yeah, cure was marital sex only.
Yeah, it's weird. It's literally it's medical excuse to have to rape women. It's so fucked up.
It's just fucking bizarre. And like also Another cure for it, or way to solve the problem, was the big one, which was lobotomies, where they essentially just do a transorbital psychosurgery, and they get an ice pick and shove it through your eye and like wiggle it about to fuck around in your prefrontal cortex. I'm trying to do all the medical words and I just can't. They shove a stick up your nose, or your eyeball into your brain and fuck you up, and then you don't have hysteria anymore because you're just a sex-making, dinner-cooking robot for men.
Yeah, you're literally a sex vegetable.
It was really hard to find like one statistic about it because it was all like country specific, but most of the time hysteria was diagnosed in Western Europe, and so lobotomies were done in Western Europe but also in America. And it's looking like between 74 to 85% of all lobotomies were done just on women. So that was definitely disproportionately done because women were depressed and they needed help, and women were hysterical and needed their brains fixing.
Yeah, that is fucked up. Yeah, because of course, I want sex, so that means I need brain surgery through my nose, because that makes total sense.
Imagine that. Imagine you go to the doctor because you've got fluid retention and you keep having convulsions, and they go, must be hysteria. Let me just shove this ice pick into your eyeball. Can you imagine if that happened now? I mean, there is obviously still medical bias that exists today. We've talked about it already, but like
that.
At least it's not that bad, I guess. Question mark. At least they're not lobotomizing us anymore.
It's a step in the right direction, I suppose.
This is what men actually are like, though. Like, you can talk about your issues with like medical bias in the year 2021 and say to men, well, I go to the doctor because I need help with managing my hormones because of really bad premenstrual symptoms, and they're like, well, at least you're not getting lobotomized. It's like, okay. Some men probably do want to lobotomize me.
Yeah. It's like, at least you're not a suffragette. And I'm like, yeah. It's like they shout things at you. Like, at least you're not a suffragette. Like, what?
Yeah. I mean, there are so many modern issues today that we are absolutely going to end up talking about in this podcast. And like, hopefully inviting other people on who will be part of art projects to talk about as well. And that is absolutely just the whole purpose of it. It's kind of like, how is that internal misogyny affecting, us as women, but also gender on the whole? Because like femininity is still definitely seen as something submissive and something bad. So it is still something that does affect men. Especially like queer men or even non-binary people. Like, it affects us all.
Yeah, sort of secret unconscious misogyny. It's weird. Should we wrap up this episode?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like we've both been diagnosed with every single symptom of hysteria, barring maybe fluid retention. And I've never had spasms or convulsions. So
yeah,
I don't know about you.
No, I have not either.
Yeah.
I feel like the main symptoms I think we've got enough symptoms checked off the list to both say we've got hysteria.
So maybe we should wait till we've had our next COVID vaccine, and then we'll book in to get some lobotomies.
Yes, definitely.
To make sure that we're both fully cured and ready for marriage and wifery.
And life as a child incubator.
Yeah, precisely. That's what I like to hear. That is our role in society.
Yes, that's it.
Thank you for talking to me today, darling.
It was a great experience.
It was a good,
lovely
educational experience. We knew so many perfectly researched statistics and facts.
We're so smart.
And everything we've said is true, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're a source, so much so that if you're writing an essay and you're using us as a source, you can put us in the bibliography with that, what's the word?
Trustworthy? Reliable. We are a reliable source.
Yeah, should I press stop on the recording now?
Yeah, let's call it a day. Okay, bye everyone.